Hey guys, so I got my hands on the brand new DJI Osmo camera as well as some filters from Polar Pro. Now, full disclosure, Polar Pro is sponsoring this video, but regardless, no matter what kind of camera you have, it's generally a good idea to have some sort of ND filters, especially for cameras that have fixed apertures. So today we're gonna test out all the ND filters in the Shutter collection, and we're going to see how ND filters can affect your image. It's so cute. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the footage. So for these set of clips, I'm filming at 24 frames a second, and the general rule of thumb is to double your frame rate in your shutter speed. So my shutter speed is 1/50th of a second. Obviously, we're overexposed because I'm not using an ND filter, and you can see that data over here in the RGB parade. The data is clipped at the 100, and you can see that here in the image overall. Okay, so here's ND4, and it's definitely a much better image than the previous one. You can see the data over here. Some of the data is back in the middle. I'm still clipping in the highlights, and you can see that over here. In fact, I don't know if you see it, but I'm starting to see some banding in the sky right over here. So we're gonna say no to this clip using ND4. Okay, so here we're using ND8, and the image overall is much better. You can see that over here in the RGB parade, all the data has moved down towards the middle. In fact, I don't really see much clipping over here. There might be a little bit, but it's definitely more usable than the previous image. Okay, so moving on to ND16. Okay, so I'm really liking this clip. In the image, I don't see any banding or clipping, and I still see a little bit of detail in the shadows. And you can take a look at the data in the RGB parade. All your color data is well within the parameters. Nothing is going below 0 and nothing is clipping at 100. So based on these observations, I'm guessing this is the clip that I'll be using to color grade. But just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and take a look at the other clips. Okay, so here's ND32. There's not much of a difference, except I start to lose details in the shadows. So I'm already turned off by this choice. Still usable, I still much prefer the clip using ND16. So this is ND64, and I'm losing a lot more details in the shadows. The highlights are still tamed, which is a good thing. But again, I do want to see details in the shadows, and so I'm gonna say no to this clip, and I'm going to choose the clip using ND16. Okay, so here's my clip using ND16, and let's go ahead and color grade it. Cool, well that looks pretty good to me. Here's what the clip looked like before, and here's what it looks like after. Nice. Okay, let's move on to the next clip and do something a little bit different. So let's just say I don't want to aim for the middle, and I want to underexpose the image because I want to create a silhouette. So we're going to go through each clip and decide which ND filter gives me the best option to create a silhouette. So for the first clip, there is no filter, so we're not going to use that. Let's move on to ND4. So here we've stopped down the exposure a little bit, still overexposed, so let's move on to the next clip. For this clip, we're using ND8, and there's still clipping in the highlights, so we're definitely not going to use this clip. So here we're using ND16, and I'm starting to see the silhouette form, which is a good thing. But over here in the sky, it looks like there's a bit of banding right over here, and so I don't really see much data in this section of the sky. And as you can see in the RGB parade, I'm definitely clipping in the highlights, and so we're not going to use this clip. For this clip, we're using ND32, and even though it's a little bit better, I still see a little bit of banding over here in the sky, and there's still just a little bit of clipping in the highlights. And so let's go ahead and go to our last clip. So here we're using ND64, and there's still not that much of a difference, but definitely slightly better than the previous clips. There's still a little bit of banding right over here, and I'm definitely clipping on some of the highlights. But since this is the strongest ND filter for this set, we're just gonna have to use this clip and hope for the best. So let's go ahead and take this clip and turn it into an awesome silhouette. Well, you look at that. That is an awesome silhouette. So you're probably thinking, really? All that just to have proper motion blur? And to that I say, yes, absolutely. Even just by having a little bit of motion blur just makes your footage that much more cinematic. And so to prove my point, let's just take a look at a couple of time lapses that I shot without motion blur and with motion blur. So Polar Pro has made it super easy to attach their filters on the Osmo Action. The first thing that you have to do is simply remove the filter that comes with the camera. Next, grab the Polar Pro ND filter with a magnetic base on it. Attach the magnetic base to the camera by simply screwing it on. Make sure it's nice and secure, and you're done. If you want to switch ND filters, simply take out the filter, choose another ND filter of your choice, and simply snap it back on. Magnets. Now, I didn't want to make a full review on the DJI Osmo Action camera. There are tons and tons of videos out there reviewing this camera. Rather, I just wanted to focus on how to make this camera film more cinematic video by using simple things like ND filters to control your motion blur. And it snaps. Alright, my nerds, that is it for me. Hopefully this video was helpful to you, and if it was, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so that you get notified of upcoming videos, and I will see you in the next video. Magnets!